Hey, so I had a lot of people who I've talked to over the course of the last month, whether it be in a research interview or prospective clients or even some of my actual clients, come up to me with this specific challenge. So I figured this would be a really great topic to cover in detail today. So today I'm going to be covering all about analysis paralysis, specifically when it pertains to it preventing you from wanting to launch your business. And I'm going to be sharing, what it is, how it shows up, what you're probably blaming, as a result of it. When, hint, hint, it's definitely not your free content that you're consuming and are overwhelmed with. It's definitely not the content. So stick around. And I'm also going to be sharing with you 4 actionable tips and strategies that you can use to overcome it and start actually taking action on launching your business instead of just thinking about it. So, if you are new here, my name is Corey Logaitis. I am a business strategist and coach, and I help people make the transition from being either an employee, and many of which are even unemployed, to entrepreneur by packaging their pre existing talents and skills into service offerings that sell, and they sell fast. So, with that said, if you are here live, go ahead and give me a like, and if you're catching the replay, comment replay. I'm actually going to check really quick. I want to make sure that this is streaming the right way because I'm not seeing any comments or anything. So I'm just going to double check super quick that we are actually live. Technology is crazy nowadays. And I got to tell you too, LinkedIn doesn't make it super easy to live stream. It's hard to tell whether or not you're actually live or not. And it doesn't look like it is going live. Hold on. Not seeing the live. Am I live? If you can hear me, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or a like. I really hope that this is working correctly. Uh, yeah, I have my events on here, right? Oh well, either way, I'm just gonna go ahead and roll with it. Hopefully you guys are here. If you are, leave me a comment so I can make sure that it pops up in my tool. I'm using Restream for this. So hopefully it works out. All right, so a few quick housekeeping items before we go ahead and dive in. I know I already just kind of burned a couple of minutes trying to see whether or not it was actually streaming correctly to LinkedIn and YouTube. If you can't stick around for the whole thing, that is fine. But if you still want support on this specific topic, you can feel free to go ahead and let me know, and we can book a call. So I'm going to drop that in the comments right after this. Also, if I say something that you find impactful and helpful, drop it in the comments. That lets me know what's resonating for you guys. It also helps other people checking out the live stream after this, what they should be keeping an eye out for, what those golden nuggets are. So help a neighbor out, right? And also, I will take questions at the very, very end. So if you have any, feel free to drop them in the comments. Hopefully, I will see them. And I also forgot to mention too, I am mom of 4. I've got 2 with me full time at home. I've got 2 that are not, and they are home from school for the summer. Jameson, please stop that. So, with that said, I may have some interruptions from kids, and that's just part of the vibe of hanging with me. So, just a little quick heads up there. All right, so let's dive into analysis paralysis specifically. So, what is it? Right? So, analysis paralysis, the way I like to describe it, it's a state of inaction that's caused by obsessive research, overthinking, and analysis of the different options available to someone. So, there's a fable, if you ever heard of Aesop's fables, there's a fable that describes this perfectly to a T, and it's the fable of the fox and the cat. So in this fable, there's a fox and there's a cat, and they're discussing the different ways that they can escape a hunter, right? And the fox gives the example, oh, he brags kind of in a way, oh, I have so many different options available to me, I can't even count, right? Where the cat says, okay, well, I've got, one. I've got just one, option, and that's it. So, long story short, as the fable goes, finally one day the hunter appears and the cat takes action on their single, option, which is running up the tree. And in the meanwhile, the fox is in a state of analysis paralysis because he's got so many different options. He doesn't know which one to go with right away. And he ends up ultimately getting caught by the hunter. So another great way I find to describe this too, we could do kind of like a modern day example specifically for, starting a business. Let's imagine you've got two different, we'll say women, we'll say Karen and Melissa, both of whom want to start a virtual assistant business, right? So Karen is the one that's, you know, viewing all the different options available on what specifically they're going to offer. Like, oh, I could do, administrative services, I could do, course uploads, I could do social media, I could do, all the different things. Whereas Melissa is the one who's saying, you know what, I'm going to only offer, calendar support. And that's it. Like, that's the only thing that I'm able to offer. So then when an opportunity pops up that there's somebody who is looking for virtual assistant services, and comes along and speaks to either one of these people, Karen is going to be kind of all caught up and flustered in, oh, I could offer this or this or this or this, and is ultimately going to lose the interest of said, person shopping for virtual assistant services. Whereas Melissa, who is only going to offer calendar scheduling, it's much, much easier for her to, make the connection with that person because she's already ready to go because she's focused on one thing. So that's the best way I find to explain it, and why overcoming your paralysis and picking the one thing is going to make such a drastic difference on, your ability to be able to launch. So there's a few different things that I've found over the course of my conversations with folks, especially over the last month or so, that people believe that causes their analysis paralysis. The first is that they're just simply not confident and they know it, right? So I'm not confident, so I'm going to research everything I can possibly find online to learn more about it so I have an understanding with it. Right. So that unfamiliarity, they want to be able to, take comfort in the fact that they've read up on it and they have a comfort factor with what it is that they're going to be doing. So they kind of, in a way, then over research because they're still not confident that they know everything that they need to know. And there's also a sense too of you don't know what you don't know, which then leads you to research even more and more and more. And the other thing that, I've noticed that people are blaming it on too is an overabundance of free available content. Nowadays with the internet, you've got, folks live streaming like me, you've got YouTube, you've got Google, you've got so many different free workshops and PDFs and quizzes and different things that you could do to learn what it is that you need to learn. And a lot of folks are, in a state of analysis paralysis because they have all these different free resources and they don't know, number one, which one is the one that they should actually be taking action on. And number two, who's actually legit, right, out there? Because there's a lot of, at least what I'm sensing, a lot of kind of fear that folks are maybe being sold to, that really it's just like a marketing scam. So there's that, kind of distrust in a way too, which then leads them to really be paralyzed because they don't know who has their best interest out there and how they should move forward. So what's really causing all of this, the truth is what really is causing analysis paralysis is it's avoidance of fear of failure, right? Just being totally upfront. So when you find yourself constantly overanalyzing, constantly thinking about what it is that you want to be doing, constantly fixating on whether or not it's the right decision, really what you're doing is you're postponing the possibility of whatever it is that you take action on failing. So it's much more comfortable to be, obsessively researching and getting information and feel like you're doing something that's getting you in the direction of starting your business, as opposed to taking action on the one thing, failing, and then having to start over. Right. So, really, when you think about it, analysis paralysis is really caused by avoiding fear of failure. So, if this resonates for you guys, definitely go ahead, drop me a comment below, let me know. So, let's talk about what you can do about it. So there's a few different things, and we could use the examples with Karen and Melissa, to kind of demonstrate these points. So the very first thing that you should be doing is you want to simplify all of your options available, right? So there's a reason when you go to, if you're based in the US, this is a great example if you've ever been to this restaurant. You go to a place like the Cheesecake Factory. Quick spoiler alert, I worked for them for a very long time. Their menu is so extensive that in order for me to get the job there, I did 2 weeks of classroom training to learn the menu. So it is very, a very, very large multi-page menu, almost like a book. So if you've ever been to a Cheesecake Factory, trying to decide what you want of the multitude of different options is entirely overwhelming. So it's the same exact thing when it comes to starting your business and having all of these free resources and tools and possibilities, in terms of different ways of monetization available to you. So the simplest thing to do, in the case of if you, get overwhelmed going to a place like the Cheesecake Factory would be to go to a restaurant that has less options available. So you go to your local pizza shop, they're just going to have pizza. So it takes that decision fatigue out of the equation. So you got to do the same thing when it comes to your options, when it comes to starting your business. So some great places to start in being able to wheedle down, your options. First is to start with what you already have, right? What do you already have available to you? What natural talents do you have? What education do you have available? Do you have any certifications, that make sense? Any specific skills that you could acquire, you can, apply to it. That's always going to be easier than going out and getting another certification on something you haven't even done before to start your business. Uh, with that in mind, you also want to take the path of least resistance. If you have to go out and acquire a brand new skill to be able to launch your said business. So, for example, let's say you want to start an advertising agency, but you've never advertised a day in your life, then that's going to require you having to go out and either get a mentor that has that experience or doing that experience hands on, getting a job, within the industry to learn it. That has a lot of roadblocks and a lot of resistance involved with it. Whereas, if you're, coming from the stance of, Melissa and Karen that we had described before, they both want to become VAs. Um, taking Karen to be able to narrow it down, what work experience does she have available that she can then leverage into a virtual assistant position? So let's say of all the different options that Karen had, in the past, she has done, social media marketing. She has done, um, she's done administrative work, data entry. She's done, process and system setup. But let's say that the one thing that she worked on the longest and has the most confidence with is social media marketing. Well, then the number one thing that she should be focused on for her VA business is to be a social media VA, right? So it's the path of least resistance. You also want to go with whichever route you're going to have the greatest impact with. I am personally of the belief that each and every one of us was put on this earth to fulfill a certain purpose at a certain time. And that all of the education and experience that we amass, along with our natural given talents, have prepared us for whatever that is. So, with that said, what, based on everything that you have available to you, how can you utilize that in a way that has the greatest possible impact? Everything else from, other options are just kind of fluff. Right. So those are really three very simple ways to pare it down. So simplify your options. You want to start with what you have available to you, in terms of resources, skills, experience, that kind of thing. You want to take whatever is the path of least resistance that you have the most confidence with, the most experience already. And you also want to, choose the path that has the greatest impact, on people overall. Another thing that's going to help you out with analysis paralysis as well is setting a deadline, right? So many folks don't set a deadline. That or they set a deadline that's 5 years in advance, which gives you no sense of urgency whatsoever. So if it's something that you seriously want to do, you really want to start a business and, make this a reality, you need to set a deadline on when you're going to start taking actions on making it happen and set a specific goal for it. So when I'm working with brand new clients or prospective clients, usually the first goal that we have is the first paying client. And we set the goal to do it within 8 weeks, which is, the promise of my program, the Validate Your Biz Blueprint. You land your first paying client in 8 weeks. So having that specific goal and that timeline is going to more or less force you to make decisions so that you have the opportunity to deliver upon that deadline. Otherwise, what ends up happening is there becomes an opportunity, kind of like the example I shared with Karen and Melissa, where there is somebody that wants something to buy from you, but because you haven't done the work to figure out what your focus is, like Melissa in the example did, you're still kind of shuffling around all the different concepts that Karen had, that then you're going to end up missing out on that sale because you missed the window of opportunity, right? Another great way that you can help overcome analysis paralysis is by getting feedback. So speak to your spouse, speak to your friends, speak to a mentor, find a third party objective that's completely impartial, right? Maybe book a call with a coach, right? Talk through what it is that you're stuck on in order to get some feedback as to where you might be holding yourself back to get a different kind of perspective. And then last, and this is the most important of the four things that I'm sharing today, is remember that you can always choose again if it doesn't work. Right? So that's the number one thing in my program, the Validate Your Biz Blueprint. When it comes to analysis paralysis, we really encourage our students to, pick one. They come up with a variety of different ideas during the foundation portion of our program. And they're tasked to pick just one of them. Because remember, if you pick the one and you go through the whole process and none of them work, you still have all these other ideas that you could execute upon after. So just because you choose one, if it doesn't work, again, that fear of failure thing, because there is a high possibility that it might not work, you still always have all of these other options and opportunities available to you to try to, get the results that you're looking for. So to kind of recap, the four things that I just, mentioned in terms of how to overcome, that analysis paralysis. First is you got to, really streamline and simplify what options you have available to you. So it's really up to you to edit and curate, what that is. Some great, kind of coaching points to get you through that is start with what you already have available to you. Choose the path of least resistance and choose whatever you will have the greatest impact doing, right? So think of other people before thinking of you first. Also, you're going to want to make sure that you set specific deadline dates that you want to achieve whatever it is that you're putting off and procrastinating on through your analysis paralysis. If you still continue to be stuck, then it's time to loop in somebody to get feedback on what it is you're stuck about. And last but not least, remember, if you choose one thing and it doesn't work, remember, you can always go back and choose again. So hopefully y'all found this helpful. And again, I'm still not sure if this is live streaming correctly. I really, truly hope it is. If you found it valuable, definitely drop me a comment below. Let me know the most valuable nugget of everything I shared here today. And if you want to take this a step further, and really have it customized, get that feedback, like I mentioned before, on what it is that's holding you up and what it is you need to do to start taking action. Definitely book a call. Let's talk. I'm here to help you. I will go ahead and I'm going to drop it right now in the comments. There we go. It's right there. So you can go ahead, book a call with me. I'm more than happy to talk all this through you and get you from overthinking, taking a business, overthinking on what it is you want to start a business on and actually start taking action on it. So thanks so much. Hopefully you enjoyed this and I will catch up with all of you again soon. Take care. Have a good